I'm David Mason. I'm the Director of Public Health for the town of Sandwich, and this is Public Service Announcement number 5. Today we have Chief Peter Wack with us, the Chief of Police, and of the Fire Department, Chief J.J. Burke. And we're going to have a discussion today so that the public, the community can understand what's occurring relative to this response with coronavirus and what happens in our EOC. So we'll just have an update and a general discussion regarding that. And I guess we'll start off with JJ as far as, did you want to do an update of where we're at today?
Yeah, I can run everybody through. So the numbers as of today, 35 positive cases in town. Again, the age range 21 to 85. 5 remain hospitalized. The good news, 2 were recovered and released off the list yesterday, and we're looking at 5 more recovery and release off the list by tomorrow morning. So we're starting to see the recoveries also.
Very good. Excellent. So I guess as far as, with that, because we are monitoring that daily, so what does the daily operations of the COVID-19 team look like? I mean, the makeup of it and what we're doing.
Yeah, so the team, again, is made up of the town manager, assistant town manager, school superintendent, emergency management director, health agent, public health, police, and fire. Every morning starts with a daily email update to the team between 7:30 and 8 that we push out, and then we have a 9 o'clock operational meeting every day, whether it's in person with appropriate social distancing and or teleconference. And if things break during the day, we have a 4 o'clock soft hold on the calendar if we have to have another meeting. And that's the same thing every single day. Regardless of the weekend, it's 7 days a week, and everybody goes in sequential order as to what their needs are. We get our updates from public health, and then we push forward with the priorities and objectives for the day.
Yeah, so what role does the Emergency Operations Center play? We've been working out of that, so...
So the good part about the new EOC is its technology and the capabilities. We have a fire department personnel assigned there Monday through Friday. They work with the emergency management staff to track the daily cases in Massachusetts and in Barnstable County. They also provide additional support for the other entities, and we track personal protective equipment, but also things that are going on in our healthcare facilities, both Spalding and Cape Heritage. They're keeping track of the activities there.
So, because when we meet too, the COVID-19 team meets, we're all identifying, we're not looking at just what's occurring today, but we're trying to project out what our future needs are or what type of protocol or response is going to be needed, a week out, 2 weeks out that we're looking at. And and we'll be communicating that as we go. I know in the state of Massachusetts, they're talking about not expecting to reach the peak until about mid-April, maybe the end of April. So plans are continually being put in place to how to deal with and address public's concerns, phone calls that we receive, food issues, and so we're continually planning that way.
And I think to look 2 weeks out is difficult with a crisis that changes day to day, but I think we've done a good job so far. When you look back 2 weeks ago where we were, where we are today, some of the measures put in place 2 weeks ago have come to fruition now. So I think if we can plan 2 weeks out and make that part of our daily process, we're going to be better off.
The Chief Wack, what are some of the impacts to the police department because of the COVID-19?
Well, Dave, the police department is continuing to operate fully staffed. Our patrol and detectives and community service officers are responding to calls for service like we always have. But some of the things that the public may see that are different with the police department, one of the primary ones is our public lobby is closed. It is a hard close, and we ask people not to visit the police department. But if you have a routine call, we ask that you call our routine number 508-888-1212. And when you call, the dispatcher who takes your call is going to collect your information on what your request for information or what your request for services is, but they're also going to screen you for your medical status. And this is for the responding officer's safety as well as yours. Once they do that, they're going to guide you into how to respond when the police officer shows up. We're going to ask that you come outside your building, whether it's your house or your place of business, and meet the officer. Again, social distancing and just trying to create a safe environment for everybody to communicate. Two other areas that you're going to see some changes is report requests. We receive a lot of report requests, and we're still doing it today, but we do ask that everybody request reports via email. And if you go to our services tab on the Sandwich Police Department's website, and you go down, you'll see the process, you'll see the form and the email address to do that. We'll respond quickly to you via email. The second item is firearms licensing. So we're still taking new firearms licenses as well as renewals, and we ask that everybody does that through mail, hard mail. And we will communicate back with those people and mail them their IDs when they do become available.
Thanks, Pete. And one of the things, when we started the COVID-19 team back in February, we were talking about many things that, trying to project out, as Chief Burke just said, it's hard to plan, but one of the things that stuck with me that Chief Wack had brought up was, before even lockdown was just a discussion at the time, was the concern of domestic violence. And you had put out, you had mentioned that this will be a concern. So, what resources are available for domestic violence and mental health issues during this COVID-19
So
crisis?
there are a number of resources. We are seeing a little bit more of a call volume in these areas for domestic violence, elder services, and mental health concerns. If you go to the resources tab on the Sandwich Police Department's website, we have listed different grouping areas where people can find a website and get more information. And we also have a community resource officer, Brian Bonderek, who works Monday through Friday day shift, and he's more than available to answer anybody's questions or guide them through these processes.
Great, thank you, Pete. But it still struck me, and I still think of it to this point when you first mentioned that wouldn't even popped up on my radar as far as when we're thinking, preventing people from being exposed. But that's, some of the fallout of this issue is anxiety builds. So that was great, and I was very impressed by that. How has the Emergency Communication Center been impacted by COVID-19?
So fortunately, we're still operating the communication center as we always did. It's fully staffed and operational. One of the biggest things is working with the fire department and the police department. They're making sure they're screening all the calls carefully to ensure the safety of the first responders, that they don't become infected or sick themselves. And we ask people to be patient when they ask questions, when they call in for whatever their questions are. Be patient with the call takers, because they are taking a lot of questions and comments that they don't generally receive on a daily basis.
True, and again, you're still dealing with the daily basis of routine and what goes on out in the community with your offices. So you have your regular load of what's going on, and then this in addition, what's added because of this. So what changes has the fire department made, Chief Burke, for the COVID-19 crisis?
Besides the PPE, we've reassigned a couple of our day personnel. Fire prevention is assigned to the EOC every day, so he works as a liaison and assists there, which has been very helpful. And the deputy chief's handling the special logistic equipment requests, working with our EMS officer. Our staff now has the appropriate PPE. We've made some operational changes where one person will enter the house. Don't be surprised if they greet you from the front lawn and ask questions from the front door. Again, the chief mentioned the dispatch is critical in getting that information for us to be able to process. One of the other things Cape-wide we had a discussion about is, God forbid we have a large-scale fire incident. In the past, trucks would move up into Sandwich headquarters and provide coverage for the town. Well, we've discussed now that even if those trucks move up, they're going to remain in their apparatus or in the apparatus bay and not enter the station. And that's to prevent any additional spread and keeping out-of-town personnel safe. So that's a big change. We had that discussion the other day. That's been instituted across the board. So I think that just shows the gravity of the event, how it can impact operations across the board.
Yeah. And what about, we do have a number of medical facilities in town. What kind of communication are we having with them, and how do they fit into the role?
So I think the good news about Spalding is when we started our team, they jumped right on board and opened up their own EOC at Spalding Hospital. So they do a daily meeting, and then we provide our daily briefings to them, and in turn, they return back their bed count and what's going on there. So that's been for the past 3 weeks or so. We've been on top of that every day. Same thing with Cape Heritage Nursing Home. We're tracking bed counts. We're tracking any potential illnesses there, and working with them hand in hand. So those are our 2 big facilities that we want to make sure we're on top of every day and communicating with and tracking.
Very good. And as far as what are your concerns as chiefs as the COVID-19 crisis continues in the stay-at-home order until May 4th? What are your concerns with the?
One of my concerns that's starting to come to light now is, there's talk about everybody wearing masks and having gloves, and one of the things we've seen in other areas, and we hope we don't see it here, is people are wearing gloves and masks to go shopping, and then they're discarding them in the parking lots. We've already reached out to both Stop and Shops to look at putting receptacles out where the cart return is. I ask that if you see those receptacles, you have masks and gloves, to please utilize that. That should not be somebody else's responsibility. We all have to work together on this, and all that does is add a complicated layer, because we're going to get a phone call that there's gloves scattered in the parking lot, and we'll have to send personnel out there with biohazard bags to collect that. So I ask the public, well within your rights to wear masks and gloves, but I ask you to dispose of them appropriately. And that's one of the things, again, that I'm hoping that does not happen here. We've seen it in other places, and I just want to make it clear to the public that we're here to serve, but you also need to take your own part in this and save us from unnecessary responses.
Chief Wack, your thoughts?
One of the things that I'm seeing, or we're seeing, is that last week there really wasn't a lot of traffic on the road. People were really adhering to the stay-at-home orders to safeguard their families and themselves. But what we're seeing this week is more and more cars on the road, and it seems like people may be testing the limits, feeling more comfortable going out. And we highly suggest and recommend that you follow the directions that you've been given as a community to please stay at home. Please consider, limiting your shopping to just maybe 1 day a week or every other week, so you're not exposed and you keep yourself and your family safe.
Thanks. But I guess I want to just follow up on the word that Chief Burke used, and you alluded to too, is responsibility, as far as the responsibility in the community. Because, I do receive many emails, we all do, as far as why isn't this in place? Why aren't you controlling this more? And we are, we're following the governor's guidelines on that. But at the same time, it takes a level of responsibility of the public. And it's about not being selfish, and it's about being responsible to your neighbors and the people beside you, and having some consideration also. And we would ask that be the case. I know that, we've implemented some new measures at the transfer station. And you can speak to that, JJ, but I did receive an email, from people concerned that, my elderly husband's up trying to dispose of something, and they have, some kids are running up to dispose of it. I get it. Everybody's anxious, everybody's been, housed up, but at the same time, the transfer station's not a playground, and at the same time, have some consideration. Back off. You don't need to be on top of people. You can wait your turn. And as far as what measures have we put in place there to address it?
I utilized the transfer station, and I was there over the past weekend, and working with town management and Paul and the DPW, we came up with the 3-4 model, which you see now, which is 3 parking slots at the trailer and 4 in the recycling, and that gives you the appropriate distancing. And I'm curious to see the impacts today have been minimal. I think if people are patient and wait their turn, we're achieving both objectives of appropriate social distancing and the ability to people to get rid of their trash. So I'm hoping that will continue. And again, you're right, Dave. Like, we look at, everybody wants to see all of these things, but we're looking at it case by case. We're evaluating, taking the governor's information, and coming up with what's most appropriate for the people of Sandwich. I'm not concerned about other towns. I'm concerned about this town. And I think the way we are going about this is methodical, and it's smart. And again, as things change, we'll implement the changes and we'll communicate them to the public. I think that's why we're doing this twice a week and with additional, social media postings to keep people up to speed.
Very good. So I guess we'll wrap it up with, do you have anything else to add on top of that, Chief? I guess we will wrap up today's PSA with the information we provided you and with the fact that, you know what, as far as we put in guidelines in place. If you follow the guidelines, follow the social distancing, be smart, be considerate of people. We don't have to then put more rules in place. Rules are there because people aren't respectful of other people. So let's be considerate of that. So let's be safe. Thank you.
Thank you.